So here's the Mars. In 84, it squared Uranus. 87, it squared Pluto. So this is either times before or just about the times that got him to be getting out of. It's the progressed Mars, like knowing, realize there's no sense staying in Poland. But then it's go along in 2030, it comes up and squares the moon. The moon 2030 is going to square the moon and the Venus. Then it's going to hit the IC in 2037 with Venus. They both hit the IC around the same time. Well, that's really interesting. You know, the IC is your motivation chart. Sometimes people call it a house of, it's one of the reward houses or the houses of death. So like sometimes this can be either a partner dies or some really profound deep thing happens, or there's a spiritual death and rebirth, or there's something inwardly open, but it's inwardly opening, but it's not increasing one's position out in the world. It's increasing one's depth. But his Venus and Mars are both going to be there. That's a positive thing. And his sun's going to be there 20 years before, 10 years, 15 years before that, or not, maybe 12 years before that, a Jupiter cycle before that. So there's like 12 years to expand, to build up this teaching, to build up this understanding. So I like this because astrology, it teaches you, it can teach you the paths and the challenges and the rhythms that are going in life. But when you start, if you get right to love or to God, you're beyond it all. There's places you can go that go far beyond astrology, but then you can come back and use the astrology with a better insight and apply it. I mean, you're only going to use the language as well as you've grown yourself. That goes true for English or any language. It's true for astrology. Most languages, most people are going around swearing in them and they don't try to refine anything deeper or different. This is the special quality of this person. So in his progressions, I did 5 years back, 5 years forward, went into Aries in 2016, into the 7th house, progressed moon on the 7th house. Went into Taurus in 2018, went into the 8th house. So this progressed moon, 2020, it's going into Gemini, it's going up to the 9th house. And this progressed Mercury is going into Capricorn in 2020. So progressed Mercury is going down, but Venus is going up into the 9th house. I want to travel, I want to see things, but it's also higher learning. So there's traveling, higher learning, and there's all the personal learning going on, but there's also the higher learning, or the opportunities to go outward, all of which cost money, which take away from time to do things. So this is a puzzle. You can't define progressions, they sort of unfold. So as we get into 2021, the moon are the fast aspects, they last about 2 months. But the other planetary aspects last for years. The midheaven conjuncts Pluto, all that. I've adjusted the midheaven since, because it really moves 361 degrees and it's only a few days within that, actually lasts not for a whole year. So I have to fix that, change that. The Saturn comes up to square his sun. So he's got transiting Saturn, square sun, but it's progressed Saturn. All his life is a progressed Saturn, inching forward, inching forward, inching forward. By 2021, December 26th, his progressed Saturn has moved forward to 28 degrees to conjunct to Jupiter and to square the sun. So this effort of having to work, having your just goals, it's been going on all his life, building up to this point in 2026. Finally, that's the peak point of that aspect. The progressed sun goes into Capricorn in 2022, just after that, reinforcing the Saturn. So the Saturn squares the sun. Whoa. It's a serious side, but there's work to be done. Then Saturn goes into Capricorn. I mean, these could be things tied. If dad was still alive and he was getting sick, it could be things tied up to the dad or something. But certainly there's these big inner shifts going on. The sun going from the progressed sun going from Sag into Capricorn. He's had the 30 years of expanding of Jupiter, of learning, understanding. It's in Capricorn. He's got to work this. It's the Capricorn. All Libras get this. We get the point when we're old, we're going to have to deal with the Capricorn or the Capricorn. We have to deal with, I'm the Capricorn, old man, old progressions. But what do you do with you can't do as much, but you can do more, because you know how to be wiser and use your energy better. So this inner sense of making use of the time he's got, That's going to come in strongly as the progressed Saturn squares the Sun, and then the progressed Sun goes into Capricorn. Then Saturn's going to conjunct Jupiter and say, I got to make a commitment to my understanding. I got to do something with it. Then Mercury comes up and squares the Moon and Venus in 23. So this is all the transits, right? Like I'm looking for the outstanding ones. And then by 20, oh no, we're into progressions. Then we go to progress. So that's up to 2023. In more detail, that's everything. But like I say, I like to get my decisions from the Saturn transits, from the progressed Sun, and then watch the other things moving in and around it to add the texture of what's happening. I mean, we're seeing in the cycles, there's actually more texture to this than not, because there is the declinations, and there is, as planets go north or south of the orbital plane, they add a different texture of how exact or intense they can be. That's advanced from where astrology is moving to include that computers will eventually put this together. We can have these things together, but they're not yet. 2015, progressed Sun conjunct Mars. Well, we saw 2015, 16, 17 in his transits. There was no, in his 8-year graph, there was no big hassles. They just came in after this. So as this built up, he was doing things. This was acting strongly. And then 2016, Mercury was conjunct his Mars. 2017, Mercury conjunct the Sun. Those were all the good times. Good ideas. His ideas were coming in, what he wants to do, working on his plans. Then he started running into some difficulties. Then he had the second, let me just get it here. Back to it. Okay, so yeah, it wasn't Pluto, wasn't Neptune. It was when in 2017, after he got his thoughts and his ideas together spiritually, then outwardly there were disruptions coming in that were challenging those, disrupting. It changed the way the outside world was happening, almost undoing him from his old ways. Okay, so we're stuck with this format of putting these two in a sequence like this. You can print them out, have them down on the sheets in front of you, which is how I usually would work. Or I have two screens, so usually I can put them up on several screens and compare them to each other. 2019, progressed. This is really showing you the moon phases. There's the gibbous moon starting again. Then the moon in 2019 February, moon opposed Neptune for a couple of months. Went through moon squares Pluto in 2021 for a couple of months. The full moon comes in 2022, September. So this whole phase was relating to that phase of the moon. It's enough. So really, the progression, you just see the progressions. But if you do, if you just see a major aspect, like okay, here's one. Well, that's progressed angles. No, so the progressed and the natal is usually what you see. Sometimes you'll see the okay, but this is the semi-square of Sun to Neptune. That's progressed. Well, depending on how far Neptune's moved, within a year or so, the progressed Sun would have semi-squared the natal, would have hit the natal Sun. And there's a phase that how long this crisis lasts by each aspect. But I only watch, really, there's so much to watch. I really only watch if there's a major aspect around it. So there's the last little part here. Yeah, the last little part, 2023, Sun, progressed Sun, still down through the third house. It's going down through here. But the Sun, well, it does. It's going to trine, just before it goes into Capricorn, it's going to trine Uranus. Progressed to natal. So Uranus would have moved a little bit, progressed on. So if we went to the progressed to natal, let's just go back to see where that would be. There it is, 2022, May. Progressed natal, progressed Sun was trining Uranus just before it goes into Capricorn. Progressed Sun trine Uranus. Okay, 2022, May 27th. So if we go down and look at this one, bottom here, 2023. So from May 2022 to March 2023, from the progressed Sun trining the natal Uranus till it finishes with the trining the progressed Uranus, there's that little bit that the Uranus has moved. That's like 10 months with that aspect. There's 10 months of spontaneous creativity with that Uranus trining the Sun. I work mostly with the squares because it's hard to define exactly how this works, but this is a kind of positive innovation coming in, ability to make have some free moves spontaneously more than usual. Okay. Now, there's some interesting things going on, and now we got our curiosity. The whole puzzle of the chart so far, everything, the Saturn just over the IC coming back to the Saturn return, 4th house. The regressed sun coming down in the 3rd house, having to study and learn and increasing his depth and his deeper understanding. And this is going on until it hits the IC. It's going to go into Capricorn and it's going to go over the IC. This is a progressed sun region and won't ever come back to it. That's the deepest point in the person's life, the progressed sun crossing that angle. Many people never get that deep. They'll go to descend to midheaven or ascendant. This is the really profound, deep integrity, mystical point. And it's just after it hits the solstice, which is the mystical point in the zodiac. So boom, boom, these gongs are going off. He's got his spiritual path and his spiritual studying and learning going on, and his teaching and his writing to go on during this period. So I wanted to look at this with the progressions and take a look at, see the hexagrams and the pentans and see how they're working out. So this is the chart from where where progressed sun hit 20. Okay, there's a special thing happening from the 24 Sag up to the end of the last 6 degrees of Sagittarius to 0 Capricorn. And then it starts with a big shift in that Sag to Capricorn energy from mutable to cardinal. And he's the cardinal person. So, but there's a lot of opening happening up during this time. And this this shows the from 2016 when it went into 24 degrees Sag, shows at when it hit 0 degrees Capricorn in 2022 to when it hits 6 degrees Capricorn in 2028, and then I went up to hitting 12 degrees Capricorn in 2034. So there's 18 degrees on this sheet. But in this 18 degrees or 18 years of a lifetime, his progression goes through the end of Sag, goes through Capricorn, and goes into Capricorn. And it's going to come up, it's going to square the Mercury, the Venus, and the Moon. It'll be a challenge around family and what he wants or what they want or how much it costs or whatever. And then there'll be square to the Ascendant, challenge to identity and relationships. Then it's going to come down and conjunct the IC. When it conjuncts the IC, that's the deepest point. November 7/31. Might be slightly different on the other chart, but anyways, this blue point marks the deepest point. So I want to look at this more detail. I want to explore with the I Ching a little bit with this. I got the basic sense where the chart is. It's not, you can't interpret his chart in terms of what he's accomplishing out in the world, what status, what he's living to. He's been taking care of things to take care of his family all his life. His blossoming is his understanding coming down to the IC, going inward and tapping deeper and deeper things. So as he's trying to, if his studying is going that way, if his understanding is going that way, this is going to really open up deeply with him. Then after that, he's in a different world. Everything will be about manifesting that thing, but it's at odds with his old accomplishments of what he did. So when you come down to it, you can see simply, well, this is retirement. Yeah. And maybe he holds on till then, but I have a feeling with transits and stuff, he may not wait all the time. Like by the time he's finished with Uranus opposes Mars and Pluto squares his Sun, he could be hanging in during that time, just waiting until the last point of the pen, until he gets in, he gets the complete pensions all the way along, then he's open and free. But the transits later challenges around this, but he's still supposed to be studying and increasing this depth. It's almost like he's ready to go into a monastery or temple to go and spend some time and just go really deep for a while. What would the family say? Oh God, what would mom say? What would the wife say? Like that's, but his heart, his progression is moving down in that direction. And he's going to feel he needs to accomplish something, all in Capricorn, with what he knows. And as he gets to that point, once he gets this inner experience, he'll be able to write and express himself, and he'll put his own packages on, not just the astrology, he'll put his own understanding of life comes together. So we're going to look at this in 3 pieces there, get a little closer into this.